this meeting today is not a cabinet meeting. It's not a cabinet meeting. This is a meeting to lay down certain policies that we will adhere to in implementing our promises as stated in our manifesto. So we need to have, first of all, a meeting of the heads of the four parties. There is no senior party, no junior party. We are all equal. And we meet here under my chairmanship, which does not mean that I am so high that I cannot, everybody must listen to me. We discuss things in depth, and it is decided that for the moment we are going to create only a small cabinet of important ministries, not of the full cabinet. We do not want to have a huge cabinet, but there are certain ministries which needs to be filled immediately. At the moment, we just name the ministries, not the ministers concerned, because we want to give time for the parties to go back and make their, have their meetings or whatever to decide which ministry they want to be in and who would be their candidate, which does not mean that their proposal will all be accepted, because tomorrow we will have a full meeting of the Presidential Council. At the Presidential Council, we will name the names and the ministries that we will have to fill initially, the 10 ministries. This does not mean that we are not a united party. We are one party. But it is important that all parties be represented in our cabinet. I'm already there as Prime Minister, and of course the Deputy Prime Minister has already been named, that is Datuk Sri Wan Eliza. The other 10 ministries will be determined tomorrow, and I will give you the names of the ministries now that we will fill by tomorrow. Now, the ministries chosen to be the core ministries initially would be number 1, Kewangan or Finance. Number 2 is Dalam Negeri, which will be in charge of Home Affairs. That includes police and other other responsibilities of the Minister of Home Affairs. Number 3 would be Defense, Pertahanan. Number 4 would be Education or Pendidikan. Number 5 would be Pembangunan Luar Bandar, Rural Development. Number 6 would be the Economy. Number 7 would be Kerja Raya, Public Works. Number 8 would be Pengangkutan or Communication. Transport. Number 9 is Multimedia, Science and Technology. And number 10, Luar Negara. Although I have named these in sequence up to 10, it does not mean that the ministry, the 10th ministry is inferior to the 9th ministry and so on. We are actually of equal status, but quite obviously certain ministries will play a much more prominent role. That is what we have decided as far as the cabinet is concerned. Then we have a problem with many states which have not been able to form the government. There is evidence that there were some manipulation. For example, in the case of Sabah, initially Warisan won about 35 seats, but the election commission kept on counting and recounting so as to reduce Warisan to 29 seats. Now they have a problem because they cannot form a government. And there is an attempt to bribe or to get certain people to cross over using money. We regard this as corruption. You can have people switching party if they like because of principles. But if they are bought over, we will not recognize that as a proper change of party. We would investigate this, and when we find elements of corruption or money being paid to any minister to cross over or anybody else to cross over by giving them money, we regard that as corruption, as much as we regard as corruption money being paid in order to get votes. Throughout the election, the MACC seems to ignore the fact that corruption was rife. Everywhere you see, we have pictures to show that people were being corrupted. In the last 2 days, for example, there was no speeches made, only money distributed. We will properly investigate all these things because we want to follow the rule of law. We are not taking revenge, but there is a lot of areas which are very grey, where people make use of money to buy support. That also is considered as corruption, as much as buying members of the party in order to achieve majority. When we find evidence that the person won through corruption, we may request that the election be invalidated. We are looking into the law of this country. We have made a promise in our manifesto that within the first 100 days we will achieve or implement 10 of the major conditions that we want to change, among which, of course, is the abolition of GST. But even before that, in the course of our discussion, our 4 members' discussion with the Agong yesterday, the Agong has indicated to one of us, actually this Guan Eng, that he is willing to pardon Datuk Sri Anwar immediately. So we will go through the process, the proper process of obtaining pardon for Datuk Sri Anwar. It is going to be a full pardon, which of course means that he should not only be pardoned, he should be released immediately when he is pardoned. After that, he will be free to participate fully in politics. That is one of the things that we decided because of our meeting with the Agong last night. So this meeting is a very short meeting, which is focused on principles only. In the case of foreign affairs, we want to maintain good relations with all the countries of the world without caring about their policies or their systems of government. We will want to do that and not favor any particular country. But of course, we are very keen to ensure that the market for Malaysia's product would be as large as possible. As you know, Malaysia is a trading nation. We need markets. We cannot afford to quarrel with people because of their ideologies. We want to have access to all the markets of the world, whether east or west, whether they are communist or non-communist, whatever is of no concern to us. Our business is to establish relations. There will probably be big powers who may want to impose sanctions to the extent that we can sanctions by big powers are not international. Big powers deciding on their own will not influence our policies. But of course, we are very well aware of the powers of these big powers who may want to impose sanctions on countries which do not respect or do not agree with them on applying sanctions to countries. But as far as possible, we are going to be neutral and we are going to be friendly with all countries. So this morning we didn't discuss many subjects, but tomorrow we hope to be able to name the members of the different ministries and also the, which ministry will go to whichever. It's not so much whichever party, but I think it is important that the role of the four members of the coalition be equally the same without any discrimination. Thank you. Pardon? That will be determined tomorrow. No. Before he can join the cabinet, he will have to be a member of parliament first. So this process may take a long time. Whether he will immediately join the cabinet or not will be decided when the time comes. Okay?
What do you want to do in the new government about corruption in the future?
As I said, that we want to control or reduce corruption to the minimum level. We are aware that it's not possible to completely erase corruption, but we now find that political corruption is it has badly affected the democratic process. For example, the election should be free, should be clean, but we find that this election was not clean at all. People were being bought. Countries, the constituencies, boundaries were being changed. All these things are worse than gerrymandering. It is really to favor the government. All those things will be studied, and where possible, we will change back to the original boundaries. And if we have a two-thirds majority, we will take into consideration the different distribution of people, the numbers of people in each constituency.
So will you be recommending the one MPP investigation? You talked about the elections, but will you be asking the Attorney General or a new Attorney General to review that?
We have to look into who the Attorney General is. At the moment, the Attorney General has undermined his own credibility. He, in fact, has hidden evidence of wrongdoings, and that is wrong in law.
So what will you be doing about that, sir? What will your step be, in terms of this?
No, we have to do what is permitted by the laws of this country. So for that, we will have to consult the administrators and the lawyers to find out whether what we do is in keeping with the provisions of the laws of this country. But our intention is to go for people who had shown a tendency to be corrupt or who had committed known corrupt crimes. We will study whether the ACC is fair or not. If we find that they are biased in favor of any group, including ourselves, we will have to change them. And as we promised, the new heads of major heads of government would be vetted by Parliament.
So would this also
If we find out that he is involved in some corrupt practices, being biased and all that, we will have to take action against him.
Well, Frank, you are having seen on your passes, and how about your own colleagues like Ravita and Nair, what they have to see on your passes?
We are interested in this election. If you want to go back to the time of Tunku Abdul Rahman, we will be bogged down with investigating corruption for the whole life of his cabinet.
Semalam waktu aku jarang kat sofa semalam, di dalam media sosial beberapa orang dia mengecam aku, kononnya dia tak suka tu dia Perdana Menteri. So adakah tindakan akan diambil pada
Ada. Nothing happened.
Last question, please.
Well, the ringgit at the moment things are still uncertain. We still have not formed a full government. We only have elected or chosen appointed the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister will have to form a cabinet, and then we will have to talk to all the departments to find out what has been done. And if we find a particular case which needs special attention, we will investigate them, including getting the police and the MACC, and maybe also the previous heads of MACC to give us data which they have before we can decide on whatever action is to be taken to take place.
Okay.
If there is evidence, we will call.
Okay. Thank you.
Huh?
going to PMO office.
That is a minor thing. I function just as well here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Tuan, nak minta